Vibe coding is over. We're at a point just before everything collapses. But the reason for that is probably not what you think. Tools got better. You can build way more complex apps, and the security is not as much of a problem as it used to be. No, the problem lies somewhere else. Everybody is building apps now. So it's not a technology problem, it's a people problem. An oversaturation or overabundance of apps made by people who just prompted a chatbot. And almost none of these products are solving an actually new problem. 99.9% of them are the exact same thing that existed before with like an extra feature or an extra quirk. And sure, in some cases it can be good, but in most cases it's just repetitive stuff. It's not about bringing value or innovation into the world. It's more about I made something and it's great because it's mine. So there's barely anything new happening. What is the reason to even be making apps and websites in the first place? Obviously, we make apps or websites to sell them to other people. MRR goes brr or whatever, that startup BS that they're telling you. So we started with overabundance, just too many apps and websites being out there. And now let's get to the second problem. The second problem is money. The business model of I'm making an app to sell to you is also collapsing for a couple of reasons. We've been in a big SaaS boom for the last 15 to 20 years. Everything was based on monthly recurring revenue. Everything was paid for a month, even if it didn't require any backend at all. That's how we came to apps that you pay a subscription for, even though they have absolutely no recurring costs. So this could have been a one-time purchase. And that market trend has been shifting a little bit. So a lot more apps and websites are now coming with a lifetime subscription, and users are greatly preferring that. We have too many subscriptions, that's the thing. Everything is a subscription, and in this economy, I mean, come on. And it's only gonna get worse. We have a recession coming, so there's gonna be even less money to be put into a monthly payment for some mini app. Because in an economy like that, people prioritize things that they actually need. And if something saves them a fraction of the time, then it's just not worth it. Another thing is that the same LLMs that helped you code your awesome app and that we're told to make no mistakes, will also eat up a lot of the SaaS market. It is predicted that in the next few years, 60% of all SaaS products will actually be built into the LLMs. So there will be no need for 60% of the apps. And then, more relevant to this channel, there is a huge growing need for craft. People, consumers, users, whatever you call them, they want to use products that had taken visible effort to make. And the bad, slop-like vibe design is one of the ways that users can actually see that right away. They know that something didn't take any effort. So in a way, it's kind of like that BS copy on those AI-generated websites talking about how effortless something is. Effortless is not a good thing in this scenario. These kinds of generic, soulless, ugly in a way, but properly done websites and apps are gonna be the very first ones to lose trust of the users because people will just feel the bullshit. It's kind of like a difference between a very skilled guitarist playing something on the guitar and then having some guy just pressing space on his laptop and playing some music that way. We naturally prefer to be around the skilled one. Somebody who took the time to learn it, time to practice it, and all that effort put into something that's inherently human and not generic. We have a market that's on the brink of spilling over. Just too many apps, too many websites, nobody cares. Bad economy, which is likely gonna get worse before it gets better. There are cycles that go recession and then boom, and then recession and then boom. And we're entering the downward trend right now. People don't have money, people want effort if they are supposed to pay money, and the monthly recurring revenue model is annoying almost everybody. It's not a perfect scenario to be building another SaaS. So for an app, whether it's vibe coded or just coded, for an app to be any kind of success, it needs to be in some way revolutionary. And most apps are not revolutionary. It's basically somebody recycling a different idea that somebody else has done before with like an extra feature or two that in most cases weren't even researched, so probably nobody needs. And it's all about calling it mine. It's all about, I made this and it's a copy of this other thing, but I added this super amazing thing that, yeah, nobody cares about. In a way, it also connects to the coding gap because sure, vibe coding can now produce pretty high quality end result if you don't look under the hood. But the problem is that those truly revolutionary, like $1 billion products, are usually done by people that are extremely skilled in coding. That's because you really need to think outside of the box, not averaging other people's code from Stack Overflow that AI scraped and parsed and learned from. No, it has to be something unique, something different. And what AI does is predicts the next word from a huge database of words that it has. So it's not gonna be revolutionary. It's gonna be an average thing at best, and sure, you can guide it towards some non-average results. That's what some people are trying to do. But for that, you need to have actual skills. And not having real programming skills is not really that important anymore, because as I said, it's getting better. Those apps are getting better, and the quality of code is also getting better. The problem is that many of these people doing the vibe coding right now have no idea what an app architecture is. And if you don't have any idea how app architecture works, then you can build or vibe code yourself into a corner. And then if you want to add a new feature or change something dramatically, then you're stuck completely redoing the app. And if there is a lot of past code that needs to be redone, a lot of things break, and then the app becomes unresponsive or doesn't work, takes you way longer to build, and all the while you're burning tokens and enriching those big AI companies. And we'll get back to those as well. Now, I know a little bit of coding because when I started in 2001, my first job, because I started in like 98, but my first real job in 2001 was web designer, which meant designing and coding the front end, because back then it was the same thing. So I know enough about coding from different perspectives. I also ran a software house, that I know that architecture is an essential thing. And while building Longevity Deck, for example, I planned complex diagrams of every possible scenario that I might need in the future, just to be sure that the app is built in a way that is expandable. And that's why I was able to make it from this super simple just deck of cards swiping thing into a very robust companion thing for serious biohackers, because right now it has a lot of features, but it all kind of ties together very nicely, and there are no problems with the code base. And the last thing about vibe coding is that all those people just want to build an app because that became significantly easier, but they don't do any marketing. They don't plan on doing marketing. They don't even know how to start. They just focus on building something because that's kind of like doing something new for them still. So they did something new. They built an app. They have no way to market it. So they just upload it to the store or post the website live. And that's just one little brick to the huge wall of slop that's created. And finding true gems in that shitstorm is gonna be pretty difficult, which will lead to a lot of people being discouraged, not even wanting new apps or not even wanting to find these new products, new solutions, because there's just gonna be too much garbage to get through first. And this tipping point, I believe it's gonna be in about 3 to 4 months. There's just gonna be too much stuff. There was a moment where even Apple was overwhelmed by App Store submissions and they were taking significantly longer, which means everybody's building apps now. Everybody's building some kind of SaaS, which will lead to just this breaking point. And when it explodes, when it kind of deflates a little bit, it's gonna be a very interesting moment. Now, let me tell you why. It's gonna be very interesting because right now the AI companies are pushing the notion that everybody can now build apps. And the idea is that they want you or whatever, your grandma or your uncle to make apps because, no, that's not because they are expecting that your uncle is gonna solve the biggest problems of the universe with his vibe-coded app. No, it's because every person building a vibe-coded thing is burning tokens and paying them money. When this oversaturation comes, we will find ourselves in a spot where nobody wants to download apps anymore, so you're not getting any money, you're not even getting attention to your app. So most people will simply quit vibe coding and they will quit burning these tokens, which will mean there's gonna be a huge hit towards those AI companies because they are depending on people being so interested in vibe coding. So that's gonna be a pretty interesting future because when the vibe coding bubble pops, and seriously, we're like literally almost there, then it might pop a little bit of the AI bubble as well. And I don't mean there's not gonna be people using LLMs to code. No, that's happening, but it's mostly gonna be developers or some designers with some development skills. It's not gonna be as many regular people building vibe coding apps as we have right now. That's just like almost over here. We're still gonna be using AI models. And even if those big companies like OpenAI go bust, that's gonna be okay because we can now run local coding models. They might not be perfect, but they're gonna be enough to get the job done. So I'm not saying that LLM coding is completely going away. No, it's probably gonna grow, but vibe coding in terms of people who have no tech skills, no design skills, no coding skills, that is practically over now. And I have some thoughts where design fits into this. It's not all doom and gloom, but it's also not super optimistic. I really think design will shrink a little bit. But still, if there are people who love design and if there are people who are curious and exploratory and not afraid to step out of the comfort zone, then these people will be fine. They will thrive in this new reality. But there's gonna be changes. If you want me to talk about that, so where design is going, where I think potentially design could be in the next 6 months, year, 5 years, 10 years, then let me know in the comments and I'll make a video exactly on that. And if you have no skills in design or coding, and if you plan to vibe your awesome idea real quick, yeah, do it real quick, because in a few months, nobody will care. And on that positive note, have a beautiful day.